So, we have been able to show that the error at time level Tn, the size of that is actually given as delta t times the size of I goes from 0 to n minus 1, the amplification factor AI times the truncation error at time level n minus 1 minus I. Now, this is going to be smaller than delta t times. So, this is a product. I am going to take this as individual moduli. So, this would become modulus of AI. In fact, I will like to push the exponent outside the modulus times the truncation error T n minus 1 minus I, the modulus of that. But we already know that A is less than equal to 1. This is given to us. And therefore, I can simplify this. So, this is less than 1. So, I kind of get rid of this term, and this is given as delta t times summation I goes from 0 to n minus 1, the tau of t n minus 1 minus I. And this is for all times which is going to belong to the set 0 to t. Remember, we are looking at discrete time levels. So, up to the time level n, we are going to look at all the time steps and what is the truncation error there. So, let me then replace this with delta t, and this summation I am going to take the max of the truncation error and just substitute that with the sum of the max of all of them. So, this I will replace with, these are n terms. So, n times the max of the truncation error, which is tau at any level t. Okay, so, this is the maximum truncation error at any level. But we already know from consistency that because we have a consistent algorithm, the error is bounded by c times delta t to the k. So, this is given to us because the method is consistent. And k is greater than 0. Sorry, this is a square bracket. So, I can again replace this inequality with the following. So, n times delta t would give me the time level. So, let me call this as time level Tn, and this I am going to replace with as c times delta t to the k. So, therefore, what we have shown is the following. We have shown that the error at time level n, the size of that is actually less than the time level Tn times the constant c, which is given to us, times delta t raised to the k. So, clearly e to the Tn tends to 0 as delta t tends to 0 since k is greater than 0. So, this is a proof that we have a convergent method. So, this is a very special case the proof that I have shown you, it is a special case of the Lax equivalence theorem that stability plus consistency, it implies convergence. Okay. So, we have been able to show that the generalized trapezoidal method is stable, it is consistent, and therefore, it has very good convergence properties. I am now going to summarize for you what we have found so far. So, let us list it and then take a look at what it leads to. So, the generalized trapezoidal method. I am not going to repeat the method for you, but I hope you can kind of recall the salient features of it and relate to it. So, there is a free parameter alpha which actually can be anywhere between 0 and 1. So, there are 3 values of alpha that we have concentrated on, but of course, alpha could be any value. So, the 3 values are 0, a half and 1, and they have some special names. So, alpha equal to half, as you know, is the Crank-Nicolson this one is the alpha equal to 0 is the forward Euler, and alpha equal to 1 is the backward Euler. As far as the consistency is concerned, all of them are consistent, but let us write down the k, which is the order of accuracy. So, alpha equal to half gives me k equal to 2. So, it is a second order accurate method, and in fact, all other values will give me k equal to 1. What that means is that my truncation error is of the order of delta t square, whereas in these two it is of the order of delta t. I will show you in a moment what the implication of that are. As far as stability is concerned, what we have seen is that for values of half and above, so that means all the alpha values including half and 1 and all methods in between, they are unconditionally stable. There is no restriction on time step, but alpha equal to 0 is conditionally stable. So, there is a restriction on time step. Okay. So, if you want to calculate unsteady, if you want to do unsteady modeling, the preferred method would be alpha equal to half, which is the central difference in time, and there you would get the method is the tau is of the order of delta t square. You have a second order accurate method. However, if you want to reach steady solution, if you have an initial condition and you quickly want to reach your steady state, then the preferred method would be you use an unconditionally stable method which allows you very large time step. So, there you are not worried about the time accuracy. So, the preferred method is alpha equal to 1 and large delta t, because it is unconditionally stable. So, you can take very large time step. If you choose alpha equal to half, that is also unconditionally stable and you can take very large time steps. But I hope you remember from the last session when we looked at the diagram for the amplification factor, on the y axis and alpha delta t on the x axis, actually lambda delta t on the x axis, then for a certain value of delta t, you would start getting a negative amplification factor. And because your solution d at t n plus 1 is a times d at t n, so now you are going to get an oscillatory solution. So your solution will oscillate between a negative and a positive value. So if you try to choose alpha equal to half and for some reason you are doing a nonlinear problem, then you could get highly oscillatory solutions and that could affect the nonlinear stability of the method, okay, which of course we will see a little later. So the recipe is that if you are interested in steady state, perhaps you should choose alpha equal to 1 large time step. If you are interested in unsteady flows or some other unsteady problems, then choose Crank-Nicolson and compute with a reasonable time step that can give you less error. So the next question we want to ask ourselves is what is the meaning of the order of accuracy? Does it imply that necessarily if I use a higher order method, something which has a larger k, then I am guaranteed more accurate solutions? And of course the answer is no. Okay? Simply a method which has large k does not guarantee a more accurate solution. Okay? Please note that the truncation error is proportional to c times delta t to the k. So I can choose a method with large k but also with a large time step and incur a large truncation error. I could choose a method which is only first order accurate, but then I can choose a very small time step and still get a reasonably small error. So it would be erroneous to assume that simply because you are using a higher order method, you are guaranteed a more accurate, a time accurate solution. Okay, you also have to take a commensurate time step. Let me show you the following graph. So suppose we are interested in plotting tau is bounded by, so I am simply going to simplify it by saying tau is c times delta t raised to the k. So the x axis is delta t, the y axis is the error. If I want to draw a first order method, this is a first order method. So this I am going to write k equal to 1. If I take a second order method, that of course is no longer a straight line, I would get some kind of a parabola. So just for the sake of drawing it, let me draw it for you. So this one is k equal to 2. And likewise I could draw maybe another one which is k equal to 3. Maybe I draw that using a thicker line. But of course these curves could lie on, they could get displaced. So for example, k equal to 3 curve could lie above the k equal to 1 curve. So that depends on the value of c. Okay? What then is the relevance of convergence? A consistent method means that as my delta t goes to 0, my error also goes to 0. The question is, how fast does the error approach 0? And one test would be that if I am using a time step of delta t 1, and if I choose delta t2 as delta t1, let us say by a factor of 2, then what happens to my tau 2 by tau 1? And you can see from this formula that tau 2 by tau 1 would be given as delta t 2 to the k divided by delta t 1 to the k. But then there is a factor of 2 here, so I would get here 2 to the k. So, if this was delta t 1, and suppose I chose half the time step, let us say this is half the time step, this is delta t by 2, which I am calling as delta t 2. The question we need to ask is, how much has my error reduced in these different methods? And what this formula shows is that if I had a first order method, okay, then simply by reducing my time step by a factor of 2, I would get a reduction in my error also by a factor of 2. If I had a second order method, then the reduction would be 1/4 by a, by simply reducing the time step by a factor of 2. If I had a third order method, then my error actually reduces by a factor of 8, and that is where a higher order method is extremely useful. Okay. So, I hope you have been able to get a sense of what the time integration is all about. So, we have given you an example here in this case of the generalized trapezoidal method, which is actually, if you use the Crank-Nicolson version of it, it is a second order accurate method, otherwise it is first order, and then it has certain stability properties. For alpha greater than half, it is unconditionally stable. You can use as large a time step as you would like, subject to ideas of non-linearities not kicking in. Of course, we have looked at only the linear version of this method so far. So, we will stop here, and we will look at some other topics in the next session. Thank you very much.